welcome back to Hockey Talks. Carl. I'm pleased to be in person by Dave. Um, Today, we're going to go over a few things. Of course, Stanley Cup final.
Thanks to our 2 subscribers
Absolutely.
as well.
Yes, I was going to get to that. Subscribers, thank you very much for whoever you are. We really appreciate the views and everything you guys have watched so far from us. I hope you enjoy our content, and we look forward to continue to do this and talk about all things hockey. But let's dive into the playoffs here. So, Dave, we're down to the Stanley Cup final. We finally have our matchup set in stone. The playoffs start Friday, or actually, the playoffs start Saturday evening. Edmonton or the Florida Panthers. It's going to be a heavy, hard series. I think it's going to be fast paced, a lot of goals. We're going to have to play fantastic. Which we have seen from Stuart Skinner in the final game against us. He absolutely stood on his head. Probably the only reason, actually, it is the only reason the Oilers won that game, I think. As far as I know, the shots were 34 to 14. I think it was unbelievable how the Oilers still pulled that off. But nonetheless, the Oilers have made it through to the final. Face the Florida Panthers starting on Saturday. What do you make of facing each other?
I think it couldn't be a better NHL playoff end result. Obviously, it would have been nice if the Leafs were all the way, but I couldn't ask for a better team. I think Florida and Edmonton both have similar play styles. I think McDavid he's the kind of player that can go that extra 10 minutes. Every other player, both these teams are absolutely amazing, but McDavid is just the player. I think we're going to see him steal a game or two. But I also have to ask what the goalies are going to do. Both of them are playing like fantastic hockey.
Yeah.
How many games are them going to steal? How many games? How is it going to play out like that? I'm really looking forward to seeing that. And are we going to have a game? There's 50 shots to 14. It's tough to call because those guys they block the puck and then you barely even get anything through. So there's a lot of stuff to look forward to.
Oh, absolutely. The goal is the only thing you're going to have because we have two high elite goal scoring teams that are going to come right at each other, and the goal is going to have to play phenomenal. If they want a chance. I mean, I think the goalies are definitely going to have to steal games in this for sure if they're going to play it. If they're going to make it, because you get the 4 wins necessary to clinch that cup. But it's going to be a grind either way. Like we have both teams that have heavy guys. Like you look at Matthew Tkatchuk on the Panthers, and we have guys like Corey, who also we can get into Corey Perry's here right away. How many chances he's had, but they have some heavy hitting guys and guys that like to get under the skin of everybody else. Right?
Well, let's get into that.
Play that kind of game.
Let's get into that right now.
Okay.
Perry. Who maybe you recall, who has he won finals with, and has he ever won a cup in 5 years or whatever?
Not in the past 5 years. Yeah. He's been to the cup finals the last 5 years. Within 5 years, he's been to, I think, 4 cup finals.
And has he won?
He has not in the past 5 years. No,
so
absolutely not.
I bet against him.
Well, the odds would say that, yes. Corey Perry has been to the cup final, I do, 4 or 5 times. The first one goes back in 2002? No. Yeah, something like that. Anyways, the Anaheim Ducks.
Yeah.
When he won a Stanley Cup. He has also been to the final he's been to the final with Tampa Bay, Montreal back in the COVID year, and now with the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah.
So, and each of them have resulted in nothing other than just being at the final. But he has been in the final, and he's gotten multiple opportunities to get in the cup. He was talking today about how there was 14 years or something like that without him being in the finals, and in the last 4 years or something, he was almost every year, right, in different teams. But we'll see how.
Why do you think that is? I mean, obviously, he's not that kind of player that leads your team to a final. So do you think that maybe I don't know, he's just got the luck of the straw, I guess, where
Yeah, I mean, part
you're
of it has to do with that. He lands in certain areas
certain
where
areas.
he's trying to land in certain areas where he has potential to get the cup, right? Sometimes he hasn't had a choice with certain things that with the Chicago Blackhawks thing where he got let go there, and then
Yeah.
Oilers gave him another chance, so he was just happy to get on a team at that point.
I just
But he just kind of lands on these teams that are ready to be in the Cup finals, such as the Oilers and the Lightning for 2 years, the Dallas Stars, Montreal Canadiens. I don't know. I would kind of say that as kind of, I just want to say it's a fluke that they got there. They won games to be there, but it was a totally different
it
season,
was a
right?
different year.
Completely
It was a
different
different year.
season than what happened, right?
Yeah.
So, but he brings that grit, he brings that grind
Well,
to the team, and I know people have some very different opinions on him.
I was just gonna say, I wonder what it's like to just have no teams actually want you. Speaking of which, Matthew Tkachuk, he's played on Calgary, and he had this thing with Edmonton, and I know quite a bit of Edmonton fans who actually started liking him, and all of a sudden now they're getting their grudge back up and going, and I think it's going to be pretty fun to see Tkachuk against Edmonton Oilers. Now, do you think that there's going to be any fights targeted at that, or do you like how do you think the fans are going to react to seeing Tkachuk back in there?
Um, I think they're gonna probably boo him a lot.
Yeah,
I have a feeling. Um, as of Chuck in Edmonton, he said it was more of a rivalry when he was playing on Calgary
yeah,
rather than Florida, which they hardly ever see each other now, right? But there's definitely going to be some tension there, and there's definitely
absolutely.
he's going to try to get under the skins of the fans. Absolutely, he's going to be there, trying to get the fans involved and maybe cheering against him. He thrives on that kind of stuff. So it's going to be a fun series to watch them and Evander Kane and Matthew Tkachuk going at it. I think there's going to be a few good battles through that. And but besides the grit and the grind in that series, how about the scoring aspect of
Yeah,
this series? You got Connor McDavid, who's going to be unbelievable. You know he's going to go all out, do everything he can to secure this, right? But I mean, it's going to be his first Cup final, along with a bunch of them. I do believe Draisaitl and Hyman, and there's Darnell Nurse. There's a lot of people who have never been in a Stanley Cup final before. How do you think that's going to affect it? It's going to affect their play,
I
or
mean,
how they're going to handle it.
I don't think it'll affect their play as much as we think. I do know that Florida's made it far in the playoffs. They tasted it last year, in fact, and this year I would give the edge for experience wise towards them. But that being said, I think that they're so close. It's almost like you're so close to the finish line. It doesn't matter if you've been there before or not. I mean, not as much as you would think. I think that being so close to that finish line is more than enough for this team to push out what they need. But I do think that game one, possibly a little wake up, especially because Florida is coming off of being woken up in the previous series
Yeah,
in game one. I feel like Florida is going to be doing the waking up to Edmonton. So life
mm-hmm.
doesn't owe you a favor just because you made it to finals, and
No,
every game matters.
absolutely. Every game matters. Every goal matters. Almost every play matters,
Yeah,
right? It could be one small little mistake that could change the momentum, change everything you're doing in that game. And as you can see back in the Rangers game, right, the one goal that Lafreniere put in on his own net accidentally, but that completely changed game one, right?
yeah.
It gave Florida the momentum that they could come back. It did tie the game up, and they won the first game. So I mean, every little bounce and every check, every move you make on that ice is going to affect the way this series goes. I think so. It's going to be a tight knit series, hard fought, and I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yes.
Cannot wait for Saturday as Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers down in Sunrise to start the Stanley Cup Finals, and we will see, and we will have some recaps as we go along for next week and updates on everything going around in the Hockey League and the NHL. But
Really quick, one more thing before we close this one out. What do you think about the fact that they're so far away from each other?
that is a lot. That's a. I think it's the farthest that any Stanley Cup playoffs has ever been. They have to travel. I think it's like over 4,000 kilometers.
Edmonton is the
It's just
furthest
crazy.
north team in Canada, I believe,
Yeah, furthest north team in Canada. Yeah, that was
going
incredible. Yeah,
against Florida,
this is the far down south,
far
right?
southeast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sunrise, Florida. Yeah,
I
it was like
wonder how that's going to affect it. If it
yeah,
will, I'm sure we'll see. If anything, I think the home team will have much more of an advantage.
yeah. But both teams have to travel, right? And
Yeah.
you see how much it affects that. I don't think it's going to affect it too much in the first game. But once the series starts getting rolling, then there's not much time in between, right?
Very
Like
true.
here's the first game. They had a whole week to get down there and prep, right? But once the series gets going, we have another game in Florida, and then it's straight back to Edmonton, get prepped right away. So you don't have that time in between to really get a
That's an
nice
interesting
long
way of
flight,
thinking about it. Yeah,
right?
that first game, it's not going to matter as much because they have
Yeah.
time, but also the first game is in Edmonton. So,
No, the first game is in Florida.
oh, it is in
Yeah,
Florida.
Florida,
Okay,
Sunrise,
well,
Florida.
perfect then.
So
Because I was going
yeah.
to say that makes, if anything, that would lead game seven for Florida to maybe give Edmonton a bit of a harder time.
Yeah, no, first game is in Sunrise, Florida.
Okay.
Florida, um, yeah, was up higher in the standings than Edmonton, right? So they are the home playoff team
Is that how that
for the
works?
Stanley Cup Finals. Yeah, yeah, state the obvious here.
Yeah.
So, anyways, but yeah, it's I think as you go farther and farther into the series, that travel is going to affect it a lot more going down the line, right? Both for both teams, right? Because they
Yeah.
both have to go back and forth, right? So it's going to be a long flight. It's going to be once again, it's going to be a really hard series.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll keep you posted next week on what goes down in the playoffs in the first few games that allude to the Stanley Cup. Thanks again for joining us here on Hockey Talks. We will look forward to talking to you next week. Have a wonderful evening.
Adios.